I'm Dana Moriello, and you're listening to This Is a Thing, the podcast where I interview entrepreneurs who started unusual businesses about how they made their wild ideas happen. Today, we're talking to Kevin Prince, co-founder of Heads in the Sky. Here's the wild idea. Create a drone show that powers headline-making marketing campaigns, choreographing swarms of drones into these massive moving works of art in the sky. I wanted to talk to Kevin because I saw a drone show last Christmas in Florida and thought, this is so cool. Who are the entrepreneurs behind this? I want to hear their story. Kevin is one of those people, and not just one. He's one of the most innovative producers and creators of drone shows that are going on right now, and I needed to learn more. So stay tuned to hear about how Kevin made a flying gramophone appear out of drones, how his first customers showed up before he even officially started a company, and why he thinks that owning a business might be a safer bet than working for a big entertainment company right now. Enjoy the conversation. So I want to start at the beginning. You spent years working in the media industry and creative marketing. You were at Netflix, you were at Showtime, you were at some of the biggest corporations. Help us understand, before you became an entrepreneur, what were you doing in those roles? What are some examples of projects you were taking on?
I'd like to say that I was always an entrepreneur, right?
Hi.
You always have that kind of spirit inside of you if you want to build something. And if you feel that you want to build something, I think that's such a good mental note to take, that maybe entrepreneurship is for you. Graduated college and I worked in news for the first half of my career. It's where I cut my teeth and I honed in on my editorial skills and my judgment and creative skills. And I didn't even know it at the time. And I realized that there was kind of a commonality in all of these little steps that I've been taking, is that I loved to build. When I graduated, I wanted to build something at MSNBC at the time. I was a booker. Then the next step I took after MSNBC was Gawker, and they had never had a head of PR at Gawker Media. So I decided, oh, how cool would that be to help build that? And so I went there, and then I went to CBS This Morning, and there was a brand new morning show at the time. It was with Gayle King, and it was so exciting because I loved to build. So those first 15 years, I realized, okay, cool, building is something that's really important to me when I'm entering a new job. I didn't want to go into someone else's position and do something that they've been doing for a while.
When you realized about yourself, hey, I'm a builder, I love this 0 to 1 and making new things, did you equate that in your mind to think, and I want to build a business? Or in your mind, did that mean I'm going to join companies where I can take new products and experiences 0 to 1?
I never thought I would build a business. I always thought I would join another company where I could build something, or I would help somebody build. And I really loved it because it's building on a big scale, right? It never crossed my mind that this is a skill or an attribute that would help me in the future start my own business. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, of course. You need this kind of fire inside of you, or this trait, I guess, to start your own business. And suddenly Netflix called, and when Netflix calls, you drop everything. Netflix was looking to build again, and they were looking for an unscripted team. So they had never had reality shows or anything like that, talk shows. They were just gearing up for that. So I moved from New York to LA for Netflix to work in their unscripted department in marketing and social. And that's where I was for 5 years. And I loved it. And it was such a really great creative kind of awakening for me, because I said, what the heck am I doing in news? I'm a really creative person, and I was as creative as I could be in the news industry, and I loved it. But I really belonged, I thought, in entertainment at the time. So I spent 5 years building this unscripted marketing kind of machine at Netflix. And then suddenly I was laid off. So I was like, what do I do?
Well, let's go back to this moment. It's such a pivotal part of your career. So when you're at Netflix, you're loving it something like. So at that moment where there's downsizing and you're laid off, what are you thinking?
At the time I was like, oh crap, it was a bit of a bummer, to be honest. I'm a builder, right? So you have to pick yourself up and say, okay, cool, what's next? So after Netflix, I took a month off, was able to travel, went to Hawaii, which was cool. And then I immediately got a job as a creative director at Showtime. There were titles that I was, like Z-Way was a really great title that I was working on, and there were a few building blocks there, but it wasn't quite scratching that like building itch. So what was great about the job as well is that not only I was able to work on some cool titles like the L Word, I got to meet amazing people, but I was also able to take on external projects at the time. So I think that was kind of my way into entrepreneurship.
And what does that mean, external projects? So were you a contractor that you could have a portfolio of things outside of the company as well?
Totally, yes. I was a contractor, and I was able to take on like creative endeavors that had absolutely nothing to do with Showtime, which was awesome because I was able to suddenly start that podcast that I wanted to start. I was able to write that script that I wanted to write. I was able to be weird in my Hollywood apartment and do the Hollywood things for myself and not for another company. And that for me was a really great moment because I was able to say, oh, wow, I can take on other projects that are meaningful to me personally, or I want to build without really having to be working for another company.
And that's the first time, if I understand your career, you have that kind of flexibility, right? Because you were full-time in these other roles, which were very demanding. All right, so this is something new for you. So did you look at this methodically, like, what do I want to do? Let me make all my options. Let me choose. Or was this kind of like, let's go where the creative spirit is moving me for these projects right now?
I wish it was methodical, and I wish there was like a that I could be like, okay, first you have to open your computer, then you have to
Yeah.
open the. No, I was kind of going with the wind, and it just so happened that at the time I was at Showtime. Michelle would become my business partner. She is an incredible Hollywood producer. We made an amazing team because she always loved my creative ideas, but also knew how to make them happen. So whenever we were being contracted out for jobs, she would hire me if she needed a creative, and I would hire her if I needed a producer. And one of the projects happened to be the Grammy Awards in 2023. The assignment was very simple. It was make a headline for the Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. I had just gotten off, of course, a 15-year career in news, so I knew how to make a headline, or I knew what would make a headline, and then I also had the creative kind of chops, and it turned out that is the thing that led us to starting a drone show company.
So I want to unpack that because that sounds like such an amazing arc. So you said the Grammys came to you. Who is you? Just you, the individual Kevin at this point, or was there a business you had?
The Grammys came to Michelle. She had a great relationship with one of the producers there who said, hey, we're looking for big ideas to market the Grammy Awards in 2023. And then once I heard what the sandbox was and what the assignment was, I said, oh, this is great because this is what I love to do.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So you guys teamed up as two independent creative and production individuals to make this a reality based on the relationships you had both with each other, with the Grammys. I love that. One of the things that's really coming through to me from this story is that so much of what you did was made possible by having kind of this job that I don't want to fill in too many blanks, but that's paying the bills, that's giving you the stability and then giving you the flexibility and the time to kind of dip your toe in all these fun creative waters you haven't had the time or flexibility to do before.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was funny, but time zones really helped as well.
Yeah?
Because Showtime was a New York company and I'm based in LA. So like they would close down at about 5 p.m. and that would be me the whole afternoon to sit and just think.
The hours in your day doubled. I love it. I totally get it. And so during that time, it's not a specific destination you're shooting for. You're picking off fun, interesting things as they come about. So I'm assuming when you team up with Michelle to work on this project for the Grammys, it's in that spirit, right? Of like, here's another project that we're going to do, right?
Yeah, in that spirit. I had hired her for the L Words, and we did a really fun creative project in Palm Springs where we had billboards. We shot and edited them, and so we already knew that we had that magic. So I made a good team. But yeah, we were just picking and choosing projects, and the Grammy Awards just fell into our lap like that.
So before the Grammys came about, was there any point when you said, we should have a business together? Your intention was we're just going to be two awesome people who do stuff together, projects together as they come up.
Yeah, that was the intention. In Palm Springs, we had one moment where I said, we should totally start an agency. And then we both paused and looked at each other weird and then moved on with life, you know?
So in that moment, why did you decide not to do the agency when that first thought popped up in Palm Springs?
I just never thought to myself that it would be something that would actually be a thing that you would start, right? I didn't know entrepreneurship was like a career. I thought it was just like a vibe. I didn't realize it was a path that I could take. It's not as simple as or as easy as joining another company. It's definitely a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the beginning of this chapter of the journey is that you and Michelle are producing the show for the Grammys. You decide to use drones. So when was the first exposure that you had to drones that made you think this was the direction to go?
That was it. So the idea that I had for the Grammy Awards to make the headline was we were going to have Grammy-nominated lyrics cover the skies of Los Angeles. And I was like, okay, we need to have it in daytime. We're going to do skywriting. So whether you're in Santa Monica or if you're in Hollywood, you'll see it's Bad Bet Your Clock or whatever the case is in the skies. So that'll be during the day. And at night, I was like, oh, we have to do both because I knew from an editorial sense that it's not a headline if it's only skywriting. So I knew that it wouldn't be skywriting takes over Los Angeles. Nope, it's not a headline. But the Grammys take over the day and night skies. That to me was a headline. So at night, I said, what do we do? Do we do projections? Can we do, I don't know, a light bright effect? I had no idea what to do. And I thought, Michelle, aren't drones a thing? Can we do drones? And she was like, huh. And she loved to help with these videos. And she was like, I think you can. And so the next thing I know, I was on the phone with one of the best drone vendors in the US. And within 2 weeks, we had produced, planned, created 4 drone shows for CBS and the Grammys that weekend. CBS loved the idea.
You had never done this before?
Never done it before. I opened a Word doc and I picked my fonts and I picked emoji next to the fonts and I was like, can we do this lyric in this font with this symbol? And they were like, sure. And then we did the iconic gramophone, and the Grammy Awards and CBS are very, as they should be, rightfully particular about exactly the angle that the Grammy Award, what the visual is and how it's shaped. And so we really had to get the 3D model approved very extensively, which was really interesting. So it was like a crash course in the drone show. And within 2 weeks, we had 4 different shows in Los Angeles, 2 in DTLA, 2 in Hollywood. And it was a moment. So that night we had our first show. I brought a bunch of my friends to come see it. I was like, you guys will not believe what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
You have to come. And so I brought a few friends, and we were in downtown LA, and we saw the show launch. And the second the show launched, I thought to myself, holy crap, I need to start a business. I said, this is the future of marketing. I'm seeing it in front of my eye, and I need to start a business.
Why is that? Why did this strike you as the future of marketing in that moment?
Drones are so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, how the heck did this happen? And I Michelle did too, and we were in a golf cart, and we looked at each other, and I said, I think we need to start a drone show business of all things.
Wait, this is incredible. So you and Michelle both think that this is amazing, this is the future. Did you need to get any validation from others that this was the future, or you trusted your own gut that like, we've seen a lot, and this is something?
And then when the golf cart stopped, I got out and I saw my friends. And then my friends, in that moment, three of them, one of them worked at Showtime, one of them worked at Netflix, and one worked for Oprah. All three of them were like, we need a drone show. And I was like, there are three customers. Oh, holy crap. And it turns out the three of them did wind up hiring us right after. So we started the business that fast, and we were able, Showtime, we were in almost immediate talks to do a drone show. We had only done one show. Netflix, we wound up doing a show for them a year later, I think it was, for Netflix as a Joke Fest in 2024. So that was, exactly a year, hired by the same person who was at that show that night. And so it's an incredible kind of story,
This might be the fastest I have ever heard someone go from idea to first customer. I think
it's honestly, the golf cart stopped, and they were like, we need a show. And I'm like, what?
Okay, on it.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between there is an opportunity here and saying, I'm going to be the one to act on this opportunity. I'm going to start a business. So separate those two for me. I understand why you thought, drones are absolutely a thing. This is the future. Why you? What made you think I'm going to start a business to do this?
I saw the process go on for the drone show. I realized I was sitting in the middle of the creative, technical production thing that was happening, right? So the drone vendors, I call them drone nerds, affectionately. We're learning a drone 101 from them, where I was like, okay, can we do this? Can we do that? And the wheels were turning. Okay, they're telling me that I can't do this, but why not? Or they're telling me that I can do that, and that's amazing. And then I was talking to the Grammys and CBS, the entertainment of it all, and I was teaching them, talking drone nerds to entertainment, talking entertainment to drone nerds. You guys got to make sure that this angle of the gramophone is correct. Otherwise, so I realized that I was uniquely positioned to be translating each of the different industries to each other. And then I had the ideas to bring something incredible to life. So I realized that there was a gap essentially in, and there still is, by the way, a gap in what the creative capabilities of drone shows are and what's currently happening. So I said, oh, this is cool because without knowing it, I'm innovating in an industry that has never done something like this before, like the drone and entertainment industries. And I'm not sure anyone else could really figure out how, like in this moment, at this exact time, nobody is doing this job right now. So I thought, hey, this is a really unique kind of thing that we have, that we're seeing happening. I know it's very niche. I know that it's like, who knows what's going to happen to drones? At the time, you think of all the risks. Okay, what if they're banned by the FAA suddenly? What if you can't? Whatever the case is. But I said, this is such a unique and interesting intersection that I'm sitting at. Like, I have to start a company.
Oh, cool. So not only did you say this is the future of marketing, you said, I am the one who's uniquely suited to make a difference in this opportunity. That makes a ton of sense. So when you're saying that, is this falling into the same category of your mind? Is this going to be another set of projects? Michelle and I are going to produce more drone shows. Or is this, hey, this is a totally different beast. This is a capital B business. We're going to offload other things, and this is our new focus.
The way that my brain works is that it had to be a capital B business. I had to commit, and we saw the show happen, and we decided, I said out loud, if you say you want to start a business out loud, you're starting it. I think you're in, or in some way, shape, or form, you'll figure out how to push it forward. We said we wanted to start a company, and we met the week after, I think, and it was really a fast move, and the timing worked out. So Showtime I was able to be there for a year, and after a year, I had to go on a leave or something, and then come back to be a contractor again. So there were legalities with
So this was that time. This was that perfect.
Time. I was able to do this on the side as I was waiting out the contract part thing. So it was nice to be able to have that cushion, to be honest, of, okay, I'm making some income, but also think to myself, hey, I want to start, I'm going to do this on the side. So I think we did all of the big things as I was finishing out the Showtime contract. So we were able to go to LegalZoom and get the LLC and figure out what taxes were. While I was at Showtime, we had them as a client for a drone show. So we were figuring out, what does that look like from a process standpoint? And we really didn't have any funds. We didn't invest any money into it at the time. We had no idea what we were doing, but we knew what we were doing. So it was a very exciting, weird time.
Hi. So you mentioned that you're doing this in addition to other things. You were still at Showtime. Michelle has other things going on. Did you envision that this at some point would be 100% of your time, or you envisioned this was still part of a portfolio of things you were going to be working on?
Once we started it, I knew that it would be the full-time thing. Michelle and I both have really great contacts, and we made great relationships in the industry. If we suddenly were saying that we're starting a company, but we're only half in, I don't think we would be taken seriously. I said, okay, when Showtime ends, and I'm in on this, because we were doing it anyway at the time. We were getting these little projects, and these little projects, hey, why not fold them into Heads in the Sky? And at the time, we weren't just doing drones as well. We were a creative agency. So we were taking on social media projects. We were taking on branding projects. We were taking on a bunch of different other creative and production endeavors that folded under what we called Heads in the Sky. It was not just a drone show agency, and we were able to take those projects and fold them into the company.
Oh, interesting. So what was the initial vision for what would fit under this umbrella? What did you imagine this agency to cover?
We're still imagining what this agency could cover. So,
in that golf cart, that day in the golf cart.
Yes, we were really like, hey, any job that we can get, we'll take. And at the time, I thought to myself, I don't know if drones are going to make it. I don't know what the possibility is with drones. I don't know if I want to do drones the rest of my life. So let's take all these other creative projects on that people would come to us anyway for. So we did social media, we did branding and big ideas. We always started from a place like, we need a big idea. That was a phrase that I heard so much at like Netflix, at Showtime. You'd walk into a meeting and the boss would say, we need a big idea. So that was what we built the company off of. We were great at big ideas, as it turns out. We did the drone show. We did big tentpole activations. And that's what we're still leaning into, which is the big ideas for whether it's marketing, content, social, headline making, tentpole, campaign ideas is what we did. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So that moment of clarity in the golf cart was not, wow, drones are the next big thing, and we're just going to do drones. The moment of clarity, if I understood you right, is we could do this. We can do big ideas. And this is one of those big ideas.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Although it was a little bit of both. We have Heads in the Sky drones, and then at the time we had Heads in the Sky creative, which was two kind of levers. I knew that drones had to have its own thing because it was its own business that could really be great. But what I didn't have is the comfortability of getting any jobs in drones. Although we did have interest from people, like we hadn't flown a drone show before in our life. So I thought, let's also lean into what we're good at, which is big ideas, creative, and see where it lands, see where we net out.
Oh, interesting. So in some ways, it's almost a safety net of you have more experience and more confidence in the non-drone big ideas.
Yeah.
So layering the two together gives you some optionality. I see. That makes sense.
And we were getting hired for that, yeah.
Yeah. You do what people ask you to, right? The customers come with the money. Terrific. So that's the vision that you had for what this company could be. And I know it's always evolving. I want to talk about your personal goals. When you first said, I'm going to start this business, what were your goals for yourself of what that could mean for you?
Oh gosh, my goals were to stay afloat and to figure out how to make a career of big ideas. I thought if I could make a career of coming up with ideas, how cool would that be? I love it. It's something that I happen to be good at, I think. Something that I like to do. If I could do that and I could do it on my own as opposed to for another company, how cool would that be? The goal was always to lean into what I love to do, what I'm good at, and what Michelle's good at, and then see how we can build something together. And I thought, wow, how cool would it be to have multiple different networks or multiple different studios, brands come to us with big idea projects, and we were able to execute those. And that, I think, was the dream state at the time.
Oh, interesting. So you already had a career building big ideas, but it sounds like what you didn't have is the flexibility to be able to execute those across all those different potential clients, which maybe gives you more fulfillment, or there was something you were chasing in that.
Yeah, I think that it was more fulfillment. It was also the able to own your own kind of destiny. The success or failure of it was really based on me and Michelle and what we wanted to build together, as opposed to coming in and working for a corporation who says, this is the mandate, this is what we're doing, and this is what the big idea that we need. I could say, cool, we're going to do this one big idea, to your point, but I also have this other project here that's happening on the side. So I really love the idea of having multiple different creative endeavors and being able to flex many different kind of muscles. It was also the first time in my entire career that I had thought about literal business.
How so?
Being in the creative field, you don't often think about taxes or accounting or invoices or any of the things that come with starting a business. So I was kind of like relearning how to work and relearning how to think of taxes and how to think of paychecks and all of the things that you never really consider when you're actually working for a big company.
And was taking on those non-creative things, the taxes and all the other business stuff, did you enjoy that? Was that kind of just a necessary evil of starting? No. Okay. All right. Just checking.
Still don't know. Now I really do. Now I think it's great. Budgets used to be the bane of my existence. If I saw a budget, I would have a bad day. If I saw a line item, I would just throw out the day. I've got to go to sleep. I got to take a nap. I don't want to look at it or think about it. Now I'm like, ooh, this is an opportunity. Now a budget to me, I'm like, okay, it's like creative math though.
How do we? Remind about that.
I had to switch gears. It was a forcing function, and you could hire the people to do it if you'd like. Or what if you don't have the funds to hire the people, like I didn't? Or what if you didn't have a budget to have a finance team, or whatever the case is? So I had to learn how to do it, and now I wound up liking it. So it's interesting.
Oh, that's awesome. You taught yourself to like it. You got over that initial hesitation.
Yeah. That's right. Yes.
I love it. And you said that you did not take on any capital to start this business. Was that a deliberate choice that you made?
That wasn't deliberate. If someone came to me and said, hey, we have $100,000 or whatever, I'd say, great. But we just started the company with the projects that we already were being hired for. And since then, we haven't ever had to raise any funds. We're potentially about to look into how do we raise capital, but that's 3 years later. So we were really lucky in the beginning to have a steady drumbeat of projects that kept us afloat. It was not easy. I had to tap into my stocks. I had to, the entire life of savings that you're like thinking, okay, this is going to be great for retirement. Okay, goodbye to that, because you're not making the salary that you were once making at Netflix or wherever. But we just kept with it, and we made it work and figured it out. And 3 years later, it's still scary, right? It doesn't really get, nothing is ever as safe as that weekly or biweekly paycheck that you get, but nothing as well as rewarding as seeing something that you've built or come up with out of thin air grow to a place of you're in Inc. magazine, which is a real business magazine. As I tell my family, I'm like, guys, we were in a real business magazine. This is insane.
That's huge. Yeah. And in those scary moments when you're saying, I believe in this enough that I'm going to tap into my retirement savings, I am really going to make the sacrifices to make this happen. What is giving you the confidence to keep digging deeper and recommitting to this path?
It was a necessity. If we're taking a look around at the industry right now, the entertainment industry or even marketing at large, I have no doubt in my mind that I'm at the right place at the right time. I am not meant to be at a company right now where there are layoffs happening and the industry is like just changing so fundamentally that I want to be able to be flexible with it. And I can't be flexible with an industry if I'm stuck to one position full time. I have to be starting my own thing. And I was just so confident that it was the right place, right time, right idea. And hey, we were making money too. So it wasn't like we were getting projects. So I just kept with it and still am. Yeah.
Oh man, Kevin, that's so well put. This idea that when you first were in corporate, you loved it and things were going swimmingly, but things change, industries change. Yeah. And you're seeing that you want to maintain the flexibility now by having your own company to adapt that you wouldn't have at a corporation today because of how things have changed.
100%. I think that's where the industry is going, right? I think that as I was a contractor at Showtime, I thought to myself, oh, this is amazing. I could work at all these different things. And I'm looking around at the Showtime folks and I'm like, oh my gosh, Showtime now no longer exists. So I saw it happen in front of my eyes and I said, oh, but my company still exists, right? I still exist here. So hey, this is fine. There will never be a moment where somebody doesn't say, we need a big idea or we need something creative to help the company. We need brand building. We need social. So I thought, okay, cool. If I could build this company now, maybe in 10 years or whatever, that sets me up for success for when this industry is completely different or when AI comes in, which I had no idea, of course, at the time and takes over and changes every industry. So yeah, that was another kind of factor in starting it.
Oh man, so smart, because we often think about the corporate job as a stable option, but it's not always true. Industries change and they could be at inflection points when they're less stable than other options you would think of.
Yeah, that's right. It depends on the industry, of course. And we're at a time when AI and technology and social is just like booming. I started the company 3 years ago. I have double, triple, quadruple the tools now in my tool belt because of technology than I did when I first started. Hey, and there's a point in the future potentially that AI can do big ideas or AI can come up with marketing campaigns. I'm sure they can right now as we speak. They can do my entire job. But we have at our fingertips now is the ability to build like you never have before. It's building in a world of like nobody's done this before sometimes. It's a really exciting time to be an entrepreneur, I think, or be a builder, and because you can build now way easier than you could even 2 years ago.
So we're got into talking about the future. So let's talk about what the future holds for you. You mentioned this idea that caught my eye when you said that you're thinking about fundraising now, which tells me maybe you're at a pivot point, inflection in the business. Where are you now? And what are you looking forward to for the future?
We just had a really great first half of 2026 where we were able to go global for the first time. So we did shows in Taipei, Mexico City, Toronto, Berlin, which was awesome. And after the 4th of July, we're at this point where we're able to take a break for a second and thinking kind of where does the business go? We're leaning into ownable, repeatable formats for Heads in the Skies. We're thinking events. What does an event look like? And how do we make an event that's unlike any drone show event that you've seen ever? We're thinking of revolutionizing the billboard. How do we create a drone show billboard so that we can work with brands media buy capacity as opposed to just the big, massive, stunty, spectacular shows? How do we be more utilitarian for brands and reinvent what the billboard, the magic of the billboard, except drones? And then, of course, we have our bread and butter, which would be a drone show spectacles, which would be the big marketing stunts that we've been doing. So I think right now we're thinking, how do we take these one-off projects that we've been getting and shape them into repeatable and ownable formats? So it's exciting.
That was Kevin Prince talking about his journey building Heads in the Sky. Here are my 3 favorite takeaways from that conversation. 1, make friends. Long before Heads in the Sky, Kevin and his business partner Michelle had already teamed up on plenty of other projects together, and along the way built a real respect for each other's skills and a deep level of trust. So when the Grammys called Michelle looking for a big marketing idea, she knew exactly who to call: Kevin. That project is what led to the birth of Heads in the Sky. 2, there is a lot of value in a flexible day job. Kevin was working a contract job at Showtime, keeping East Coast hours while living in LA. And that combination gave him free afternoons to pursue his own creative projects. And those projects ended up becoming the foundation of Heads in the Sky. 3, you might already know your first customers. Because Kevin worked in entertainment, he had plenty of friends in the industry. He invited 3 of them to see his first drone show, and by the time the show had ended, all 3 had become his first customers for the business that he decided to start that very same night. This is Dana Moriello, and I can't wait to see you next week on This Is a Thing.